The New York Giants have fired head coach Brian Daboll after 3.5 seasons, and it's about time. I'm not going to lie, I think we all saw this coming. In this episode, I'll break down what went wrong, who's next, and what this means for the future of the New York Giants. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of Bet the Over. I'm your host, Kevbo, and let's get right into it. Let's address the elephant in the room. The New York Giants have terminated Brian Daboll as head coach. And to be quite fair, we all knew it was coming. It was inevitable. After 3.5 seasons, Brian Daboll has been relieved. And honestly, each season, one after the other, the record just kept getting lower and lower and lower. And eventually, Mara decided it was time to pull the trigger. Now, let's get into the stats of Brian Daboll. So, as of this recording, November 10th, Brian Daboll had a 2-8 record for the 2025 season. So, he got fired halfway through. Last year they went 3-14. Obviously had the number 3 overall pick, which they took Abdul Carter with. So that season was clearly a failure. 2023 they went 6-11. So that was the season after their Daboll's first season, and it was quite disappointing considering the original year in 2022 they went 9-7-1, made the playoffs, beat the Minnesota Vikings in the divisional round, and then they got smeared by the Eagles. But overall, it is pretty upsetting to see Daboll go because after 2022, I really thought we had our guy. He had the team inspired. They looked good. They looked like a quality team. They didn't make too many mistakes. They looked well coached. And like I said, season after season, they just seem to get worse and worse and worse. Now, this is currently the first, second, third, fourth time in 10 years the Giants have fired their head coach. The last 5 head coaches was obviously Daboll, 2022 to 2025, and he posted a 20-38 record. Now, I don't know if you don't know football, but having a negative record is never a good thing. And to be honest, Brian Daboll, he was a player's coach. I know a lot of people in the organization liked him. I even liked him after his first season, but you can't get away with losing this many games in the NFL. I get he's had a lot of tough breaks, I'd say. Like Daniel Jones was his quarterback. He wasn't necessarily good. The Saquon situation, the McKinney situation, which isn't really his fault. That's more of the GM's fault. And then they've just had brutal injuries. Almost, it feels like every season. Last year was Andrew Thomas. This year was Malik and Scattaboo. But overall, you run out of excuses for Daboll at a certain point. You can't keep blaming everyone else. And I think this was the right decision. I don't think Daboll was necessarily the worst coach in the NFL, but all that matters in the NFL is wins. That's it. That's all they care about. So now let's get into the records. So obviously, like I said before, Daboll 2022 to 2025, he had 20-38 and 1 record. The coach before him was Joe Judge. We all know how that went. That was even worse at 10-23 with his overall record. Then we had Pat Shurmur, 2018 to 2019. He went 9-23, and Ben McAdoo, 2016 to 2017, actually had the best record out of all of them at 13-15. Now, as we all know, the Giants haven't been good for a decade now at this point. It's been a revolving door at head coach, DC, OC, and it's just sad to see because they're such a historic franchise and they have been the laughingstock of the league for the past decade. And it seems like we're going into another rebuild. It's still undecided what the Giants are going to do with Kafka, the OC, Bowen, the DC, and then Shane, the GM. As of right now, it kind of seems like Shane is going to continue to be the GM for the future, which personally I think is the wrong move. We did the same thing with Gettleman. Gettleman the remained the general manager after the firing of Pat Shermer and I think Joe Judge. So overall, I feel like if the head coach goes, especially when they were hired in the same year, I think the GM should go along with him. Now, I do see both sides of the argument for Shane because I do believe his past two drafts have been pretty good. I know his first year he drafted Evan Neal and he's drafted a couple bad like second and third rounders, but the past 2 years, I mean, you got to give him credit. He drafted Dart. I know Dart was a Daboll pick, but he's the guy that fully pulls the trigger and agrees to it. So he drafted Dart. He drafted Scadaboo. Abdul Carter looks great. He drafted Malik last year. Kayvon, his first pick as GM. I mean, he's not fantastic. He's not number 5 overall pick, but he is a quality player. And obviously, the list goes on and on. I liked his signings this past offseason. I know they've been hurt in Holland and Paulson Adebo. They they've we haven't seen him much on the field because they have been injured. But like I said, I think Shane should go as well. The most surprising person that I think hasn't been fired is Shane Bowen. He is the main reason they've been so terrible. Their defense has given up like a substantial amount of points. I know it was like 105 points in the past 3 weeks, probably more than that now. That was the past 2 games before Chicago. So he better be out this door by the end of the season as well. I think he should have been the first one fired, but obviously Daboll comes out first. Now, what I'll get into now is we'll get to the top 15 coaching candidates. I know this is all speculation. Um, we don't know who's going to become a head coach. A lot of coordinators who are speculated to become a head coach don't, and they end up staying where they are, or they take jobs anywhere else. But before we get into it, I just want to state the New York Giants head coaching job is got to be one of the most appealing jobs going into this offseason for any organization. I mean, you have Tennessee who just fired their coach, I'm assuming. Obviously, the Giants just fired theirs. There's going to be other teams that fire their head coach. I know a lot of people are saying the Browns, but out of all those teams, I truly think the Giants is the most appealing because for a couple of reasons. A couple of your stars, the key contributing people to your team for the most part are young in Scadaboo, Malik, Dart, Abdul Carter. Burns isn't too old. And that list obviously goes on. But the biggest reason, obviously, people would want to take this job is for Jackson Dart. He has shown that he's a baller. He really is good. I don't want to overhype him because he's only played 6 games, but sorry, my throat's dry. But Jackson Dart has looked amazing. He's looked better than Cam Ward. He's looked like the best rookie quarterback. He might win offensive rookie of the year. I don't know how this injury is going to affect it. It's clear cut between him and Ibuka. But he's got that it factor. He's got swagger. He can run. However, running has gotten him in trouble. That's why he's hurt right now. But he hasn't had much help on offense. Like Wandale's currently is number 1. However, he's still running an efficient offense. His QBR is high. His touchdown to interception ratio, which is one of the most important things, I'd say. He's not turning the ball over, which is key. Dart is the main reason why the New York Giants head coaching role spot is the most appealing role in the offseason. We have to figure out what the Giants are going to do with Joe Shane. I don't know if they're going to keep him. It seems like they are. I think he should go as well. I think it should be a fresh rebuild, restart, build around Dart. And they got to find someone that can maximize this defense because it's just full of potential and it's being wasted. Like Abdul Carter's QB spying. Brian Burns was QB spying. Dexter Lawrence doesn't look good. He looks unmotivated. They need someone to come in and really flip the script on this team. Now, let's get into a couple of the head coaches that are supposedly going to be available in the offseason. So the first guy we see is Vance Joseph, the defensive coordinator of the Denver Broncos. I mean, the Broncos have been like a top 5 defense this past year and a half or so. No, 2 years. So I wouldn't mind him if he can get the defense going and playing up to the potential they have. Obviously, that's a home run slam dunk. I see Chris Shula, the defensive coordinator of the Rams. Um, the Rams are a top team in the NFC. I don't know what seed they are, but they're definitely at the top of their division. They look like a potential Super Bowl candidate as of right now. The other guy that's a big one is Brian Flores of Minnesota. Obviously, we all know he's got Minnesota's defense playing pretty well. Minnesota hasn't been uh, doing too hot lately. I mean, I think they just lost. So it's exciting to see him, however, because he's been a head coaching candidate for a while. Um, there's a couple. One person I see a lot too is Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator of the Chiefs. He was formerly a Giants defensive coordinator. He actually won a Super Bowl with the Giants. Um, if they hired him, I would be ecstatic. However, I think that's just all hype. I don't think he wants to become a head coach really, because if he decided to become a head coach any offseason, he would have gotten a job instantly. He's one of the highest sought after uh, coaches or defensive coordinators in the NFL. So I think he wants to stay as a DC on the Chiefs. I've been seeing John Gruden a lot too. I personally would like Gruden. I think most people would. He brings that energy. I don't think that's going to happen either. I know he has an ongoing lawsuit with the NFL. There's a lot of controversy with hiring him. So I don't think that's going to happen. I've seen Antonio Pierce a lot too. He was obviously a New York Giants linebacker back in the day when they were good. Um, he was the head coach of the Raiders, I think 2 years ago. He got fired, terminated, but I think he would be more of like a DC, and I would love that. And then the last option, really, the big one is Mike Kafka. There's obviously more people. There's like college coaches and stuff, but we don't know what that's going to be like. But Kafka's the last guy. He's currently the interim head coach, until the end of the season. And personally, I don't think Kafka's going to stay as the head coach at all. Just last year, everyone wanted him fired, and now he's the head coach, but I don't think he's going to continue. Um, I think I'm going to post another episode breaking down the Bears game. But I just want to wrap up my final thoughts about Daboll. So he did have it coming. He had a pretty bad record with the Giants. Besides that first season, his record was negative every single year. And it's not just that he was losing, it was more that the way they were losing games. Like even this past week against the Bears, they were up 10 points. We obviously had the Broncos 19 points collapse. They were leading against the Niners as well. Every single game has been a loss while leading going into the second half of the game. And honestly, that comes down to coaching. It really does, because he made some controversial decisions throughout that whole stretch, like kicking the field goal this past week. I know Bowen's been dropping everyone into coverage, but I'm sure he has the ability to override the defense. The team in general, just besides the Dart and Scatterboo games where they had juice, the defense has looked unmotivated. The offense has looked pretty good. That's one thing I am nervous about Daboll leaving, is that him and Dart had a pretty good connection. I know there was reports that Daboll was the one who really pushed for Dart, and obviously it ended up working out. Dart looks great. So I'm nervous that the new head coach might not have the rapport with Dart. But the other thing is, Dart's been in concussion protocol 4 times this season, and you got to think, is Daboll the one running him over and over again? He did it in Buffalo with Josh Allen. Josh Allen is a bigger guy, so he hasn't been as hurt frequently, surprisingly, because Josh Allen runs like a chicken with his head cut off. But um, you got to factor in, is Daboll the reason Dart keeps getting hurt? I mean, he might be out again next week. He got yet another concussion. I think he had the concussion with the blue medical tent scandal where Daboll was in the tent. And just overall, Daboll was just too on the sideline. I feel like you should be more calm, cool, and collected. Daboll was always on the sideline, slamming something, his headset, or like freaking out over a call. As a head coach, you kind of have to keep your emotions calm and collected. Like, you're running the team. If you're freaking out, then all your players are going to follow. You're supposed to be the one leading them, calming them. and making the correct decisions. And Daboll just didn't get the job done. Now, I don't like people that are like, good, I hope he stays unemployed. Like, no, I obviously hope the best for him. I don't think he was the worst head coach ever. I think he'll get another job somewhere else. I think he's more of an OC. He seems like a great quarterback guy. He knows how to evaluate talent at the quarterback position. So I think he'll get an OC job somewhere else. Um, but overall, I think this is what needed to be done. I think Mara made the right choice. Next is Bowen. Bowen's got to go. And then we got to decide on Joe Shane. Like I said, I'm 50-50 on him, but I think he should go along with Daboll by the end of the season. Everyone comment down below what you think the Giants should do. What's their next steps? Who's the next head coach you want? GM, all that good stuff. Once again, thanks for tuning in, guys. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next episode.